I think around midnight of the 4th of July, somebody entered Clergy Ballard's home. Clergy Ballard was a white engineer. He'd been a longtime resident in Springfield. His daughter had been out at 4th of July festivities that evening. She'd come home at about 11, gone to bed. Everybody went to bed at around 11:30 or 12, and shortly after that, sometime after midnight, she claimed that somebody got on her bed. She asked who it was, and the person ran out of the house into the yard. The father, Clergy Ballard, probably tried to grab him, and Clergy Ballard got fatally cut up. Probably, I would guess, he had his throat cut because he bled to death very quickly.
A man was arrested quickly for that. His name was Joe James, and he was sitting in the county jail awaiting trial. The Sangamon County Jail at that time was located on the corner of Jefferson and 7th Streets. That area happens to be the area for the Abraham Lincoln Presidential Library and Museum.
There were hints that Joe James should be lynched. This was an outsider. This was a stranger. This was some drifter, some vagrant. The newspapers reflected all of that, but they used the occasion of Clergy Ballard's death to, so to speak, launch a call for reform. And one of the reforms that they wanted was the so-called cleaning up of the levee, a black business and residential district downtown, not far from the courthouse.
And the levee in Springfield was commonly regarded as kind of the headquarters for crooked politics, vice of all kinds, trouble, in other words. And so it was a natural target for these people who, in a way, probably considered themselves at one point reformers. They were going to clean the filth out of the levee area.
There was some talk, apparently, in the North End about doing something, but it never came to anything. So, but the press was pretty inflammatory, and I think that coverage, even though there wasn't a riot this time, I think that coverage helped pave the way for a lot of white anger for the next incident.
And then there was another incident reported by a North Side woman that she had been assaulted by a black man who did handiwork in that neighborhood. His name was George Richardson, and he was arrested on Friday for this assault. These were the two events that precipitated the convulsions of that weekend. And again, it's interesting that they both involved claims of interracial sexual crime. And that was explosive.
They were already demonizing the accused. He was never referred to as the accused or the attacker or the assailant or the alleged assailant or even just as the man. It was always either the Negro or some other harsher term like the fiend or the villain.
Unfortunately, the local newspapers had, I think, sensationalized this news. And that was a characteristic of American society at that time, too, what's called the yellow press. And they were quick to judge that Richardson was guilty, and the language that the State Journal used and the State Register in reporting these events was inflammatory.
It would seem to white Springfielders, oh no, here it's happening again. First there was a homicide, now there's the rape of Mabel Hallam, and you've got to remember that both of these things struck the same neighborhood. Those people, largely from the North End and a little from downtown, very, very angry and very determined to avenge those two alleged crimes.